And then you're involved in another organization, which is a media organization, correct?
Oh, that's Veterans Today, correct.
Right.
Yeah.
And what is the goal of that?
That's awareness.
Awareness.
To get awareness out there.
Got it. Okay. And then the Jane, the Evan Ashcraft Foundation. What is it? Tell me more about exactly what it is that you do. You deal with traumatic brain injuries.
We provide
PTSD.
We raise money.
Okay.
And provide grants to organizations that to providers that treat traumatic brain injuries and PTSD.
All right.
Yeah, more of this about us can be seen on our website, which is www.evanashcraft.org.
Okay.
Again, what we're doing is providing grants to non-governmental agencies to provide PTSD counseling. We have done some educational grants to veterans and dependents, but most of it is that treatment right now.
And where does most of the funding for these organizations come from?
It comes from companies, it comes from individuals, it comes through individual donations, small amounts, large amounts. We have a couple of fundraisers every year, and we are grassroots, just like Soldiers Project, just like VVAW, and I think that's where Jim was going. Because of the government bureaucracy, because it's so huge and so cumbersome, in order to have any movement at all to help veterans, for the short term, it's looking like it's going to have to come through grassroots organizing and grassroots efforts from individuals like us who've been touched by war.
Right.
And it's a drop in the bucket, I tell you,
it is a drop
David.
in the bucket.
The need is huge, and what we're doing is local. I mean, this need covers throughout the country, and we need a lot more of this to be done.
And the government, to say nothing of private insurance, is not exactly swift to address these things. And traumatic brain injuries, PTSD we've talked a lot about, but there are other issues, Agent Orange after Vietnam, for instance, or depleted uranium, which is probably the cause of the Gulf War syndrome, so-called, and they're still using it.
And with Agent Orange, there's an estimated 300,000 Vietnam veterans that have died from being exposed to Agent Orange, from the carcinogen, and the actual herbicide was dioxin.
Right.
And during that time, we've had, if you take a look at the Vietnam Memorial Wall, where you've got 58,000, if you were now to take that and put the 300,000 on a wall, create a wall for the 300,000 that have died, and those that have committed suicide, it'd be a pretty large wall.
Yeah. And now depleted uranium is a similar issue, where they're just now recognizing that this has been causing problems. The use of uranium on shells that powderizes and creates birth defects and all sorts of other low-level radiation problems.
And with Agent Orange, the government also denied for the longest time before we could get any help on that. And in fact, the Reagan administration in 1987 had stalled a 4-year study that was going on. And then in 1990, the House Committee on Government Operations actually charged that they did commit obstruction in regards to that. So
that's a perfect example, Steve, of that pay now or pay me later issue. You know, the cost of treating Vietnam vets and the cost of doing the depleted uranium issue is just escalating beyond the minuscule amount it would have taken, relatively speaking, at the time if we had treated it.
Right. So given what seems to be the enormity and magnitude of the problem, and given that it's just one of a large number of problems that we deal with on this show month to month, what can the average citizen do, even one who's not been touched by the military or in any personal way? What can they do to get involved, either to lobby the government to become faster at dealing with these issues, or to get involved in an organization like you guys'?
The average citizen really needs to hold their elected officials accountable for their positions on medical treatment, on veterans issues, on the war. I don't believe you have to be anti-war to support military men and women coming home who
Right.
need treatment. If writing letters and making phone calls is what is satisfying to someone, then that's what they should do. But they really need to be actively in the faces of their legislators to make sure that they're being heard. They can do organizing. You know, we all started off as individuals and have become, through joint efforts, I think a group that can impact legislation. People should not underestimate their own individual power in terms of making sure that their legislators are voting the way they should be voting.
Are there any specific pressure points beyond simply just the local legislator like Elton Gallagly or one of these folks? Are there any specific pressure points either with the VA itself or with the Veterans Armed Services Committee in Washington? Anyone that really should be contacted?
I think we should all be contacting Barack Obama.
Okay.
I mean, I think that's probably a very good place to start. He has indicated that he has a very, he has very solid support for our veterans. Let's have him put his money where his mouth is. Let's be focusing on Eric Shinseki, Mike Mullen. Those are the people who are going to be affecting change over the next at least 3 years around veterans issues.
And this program is a step in that direction. I mean, people who are watching this should be aware that this is a real issue. This is not something that's pie in the sky or theoretical or that's going to happen in a year or two from now. It's happening right now, and they need to do something. They need to get involved, or else they're going to be affected one way or the other with time.
And there's always ways to volunteer on a local level. We've got the new Ventura home, veterans home out in Saticoy area. And our chapter has actually collected over 1,000 books for their library, as well as 400 VHS tapes and CDs. And there's opportunities to volunteer at this home too.
Okay. Got it. And presumably there are volunteer opportunities with your organization in the immediacy for Conejo Valley.
There are definitely volunteer opportunities for the Ashcraft Foundation.
Yeah, again, go to our website. I'll say it again, www.evanashcraft.org. Contact us. We'd love to hear from you. But there's ways you can help, and we're not the only organization by any stretch of the imagination, so there are many people who are doing things.
Right. And there's the USO and the large numbers of organizations that one can get involved in.
And I just really want to leave your viewers with a thought that while we're waiting for our government to take action, while we're waiting for Veterans Affairs to take action, our vets are committing suicide. They're abusing drugs and alcohol, and it is not going to stop until we do what we need to do to take care of them.
Right. All right. Is there anything else that you'd like to close with, Steve?
Nothing I have right now, no.
All right. So I'd just like to say, thank you to all of you for being involved in these issues. Certainly, it's everything from the wars themselves that create the problems to the conditions once we're in the war, to the people coming back and how we treat them after that. And there are a whole host of issues. You can either be opposed to getting in the war, getting involved in the war in the first place, opposed to the treatment and the contractors, or pushing the VA and other organizations, or getting involved in organizations like yours to get out there and help them after they've come home. All right, well, thank you very, very much. I think that's our program for this evening. I want to thank our guests, Jane Bright, Jim Bright, and Steve Crandall, for taking the time to come on the show and share their thoughts and experiences on this difficult subject. Again, if you have comments or want to know more about this subject or any of our past programs, please feel free to contact us at ConejoDemocrats.com, C-O-N-E-J-O, Democrats.com. So until next time, be safe, stay well, and keep your eye on the issues.